Hello and welcome to the shop. Tonight I'm going to work with a blank sent to me by Stephen Joyner. And what this material is, it's a hybrid blank. It is grapevine and resin. So I'm really excited about turning this. And Stephen was nice enough, he prepared the blanks. He's already cut them in half. You could easily make a two-piece pin out of this, but I've decided to make a wall streak. So we really only need one of the blanks. So we're going to pick out the one I like the most, and we're going to get it drilled, tubed, and we're going to turn a grapevine and resin hybrid pin today. It was really difficult to pick which of the two blanks I wanted to turn because they're both so amazing, but this one won out. So we're going to go ahead and chuck it up and see if we can turn it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start drilling at the acrylic end, and the reason why I want to do that is sometimes on acrylic you have a blowout when you exit. I rarely have a blowout on wood. So this is grapevine. I don't know how it's going to drill, but we're going to attempt to go from the acrylic side into the wood side. We'll be drilling a 27/64" hole, which is the required size for the Wall Street pin kit. Looks like it's centered. Let's go. Felt like it was a really smooth exit on the opposite end. There's our entry hole, and perfect, really nice exit hole. Went a little bit off center as we exited. Well, we started a little bit off center, but that's not going to hurt anything. We should have plenty of room. This is going to make a beautiful pin. I really love the looks of this blank, and it was difficult for me to decide which end I wanted to insert the tube because the tube is just slightly shorter than the blank, and we're going to lose a portion of the blank. I think what I'm going to do though is I want to try to keep the grapevine part of the blank, so we're going to insert the tube from this end of the blank. I'm going to do a quick test fit, no obstructions. Let's get some medium CA. We'll apply a very liberal amount of CA on here. Okay, insert it into the blank. We're going to move it back and forth to ensure that we spread the glue, tap it just below the surface, and we'll set this blank aside to dry. Hello everybody, I just want to take a moment and pause in this video and let you know that I have made a mistake. I've got the letter here that Stephen sent me with the blanks, and he said this is a red maple burl cap from New Zealand, and I've been calling it maple burl or red maple burl, and I posted it that way out on Facebook and Instagram, and Stephen got in touch with me and said it's Mallee Burl, M-A-L-L-E-E burl cap. So I'm going to be really honest, I don't know what the difference is. I probably need to look that up and learn what it is, but from here on out it'll be Mallee Burl as opposed to maple burl. So if you hear me say maple, I'm going to put a little text message on the screen and call it Mallee Burl. I let the glue dry naturally on my blank, and it's been drying for 2 or 3 days, so it should be sufficiently dry. And you can see that the tube is right up to the edge of the maple burl. But on the Alumalite side, it's rather far down into the blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this tube in here. I'm going to mark it, back off just a little bit. I'm going to run this over to the bandsaw, and I'm going to get that little section cut off. I got a nice clean cut at the bandsaw. And next up, I'm going to run this over to my belt sander, and I'm going to go ahead and flatten both ends of this blank. As soon as I take the blank off the belt sander, the next thing I like to do is go ahead and check the bushings, because once in a while you might get a little burr from the cutting or the sanding process, and you need to take a little jeweler's file and clean that up. It looks like everything's fine on this one, so let's go ahead and get this over to the lathe. I've got this blank from Stephen Joyner chucked up and ready to turn, so let's have some fun. Anytime that you're working with a mixed media blank, you need to be really careful with your cut. This maple burl is extremely hard, so I had to apply a little more pressure when I'm cutting along the burl, but when you start to get to where the two materials intersect, you need to make sure you back off on the pressure. Alumalite's very soft, and if I didn't do that, I would have dug in and gouged out this Alumalite, and then the blank just wouldn't have looked right. I'm going to start by sanding from 150 down to 600 grit on my sandpaper, and then I'll pull out my micro mesh and I'll micro mesh this blank before applying a finish. That's going to let me really polish up the Alumalite section of the blank. Once I get the Alumalite section looking good, and the wood section will look amazing too, we'll go ahead and apply a few coats of CA glue, and that should really make this blank pop. With my blank sanded to 600 and all of the scratches removed, I'm now ready to move on to micro mesh. I will be using my micro mesh wet, and what that means is this blank is going to have to set overnight and dry before I can apply my CA finish. I've run through the micro mesh grits up to 12,000. You can see that the burl is already starting to dry. There's a wet area and a dry area. See that? However, I wouldn't dare apply a CA finish to this blank until it was 100% dry. So for the time being, I'm going to take this, set it aside. We'll let it dry overnight. We'll come back tomorrow, get a CA finish put on this blank, polish it up, and it's going to look amazing. I got the blank on the lathe, and I just want to clean it up real quick with some denatured alcohol because I've been handling it, and any oils from my hands or any dust or dirt in the shop that could have gotten on it, I want to just make sure I take that off before I put a finish on it. Now I'm going to let it, you can see it's already starting to dry. This denatured alcohol dries really quick. I'm just going to let it sit here and spin for a few minutes and make sure it's completely dry before we continue. I'm going to start off with just a couple of coats of thin CA. And you can see it just really brings out, especially in the wood, just makes that grain pop. This thin CA dries very fast, so I'm probably taking about 30, maybe 35 seconds between coats. I'll end up putting 5 coats of thin on here, and then we'll follow up with a couple of coats of medium. I have applied 5 coats of thin and 5 coats of medium CA to this blank. I think it did a nice job sealing the blank. It looks really sharp. I'm going to go ahead now and use my micro mesh pads, and I'm going to polish this blank up. I like to use pads that are a little bit worn. I don't use new pads when I polish a CA finish because the newer pads will literally just eat that finish right off, and the older pads they'll let me work the finish and get it to a nice shine without removing too much of the CA. And again, you don't need to spin. Whoops, I got the wrong pad. I'm out of order there. No, I'm not. That was right. It's just so dirty that looked gray. This is the purple pad. I don't spend a lot of time on the blank, just a quick once over. I do put my standard turning bushings back on in case the glue had any buildup on the edges. You can work that off really well. But I just like to polish the blank and just get it nice and level, nice and smooth. This will give it a beautiful finish. This is the gray pad, it's the final pad. You could spend a little extra time on that one. It won't hurt anything. And now when you take a look at the blank, you'll notice it's a lot smoother finish. Before I polished it, you might have seen a little bit of maybe some ripples from the glue in there. Now as you look down that glare line, it's just as smooth as a piece of glass. This blank's absolutely gorgeous. I put the mandrel back on the lathe so that I could spin this blank and show you just how gorgeous it is. I mean, look at the shine. It looks like there's a piece of glass over the blank. Isn't that beautiful? Let's get this blank over to the bench and let's get it pressed into a kit. For this blank, I'm going to be using a pin kit that I purchased from Woodcraft. This is a Wall Street 2 grip pin, and it's very simple to assemble. You start by placing the spring on the refill, slide the refill into the nib, thread your transmission, and we'll remove the little ball from the end of the ink refill. You can see the smooth operation. I really like this pin kit. It's becoming one of my favorites. And lastly, we need to insert or press the cap into the back of the pin. Now this is tough because I don't want to lose any of this pin, but I think I'm going to put it right here, and that'll give me a really nice shot of the rest of the pin where the wood meets the Alumalite. Okay, let's flip it around here to protect it. Give it a little press to start it. I'm going to grab a piece of corrugated cardboard and finish the press. Got a really nice fit. That is beautiful. Let's go ahead and slide the front half of the pin. There we go. That is one gorgeous pin. Very classy. I think anybody'd love to carry a pin like that in their pocket. I know I would. I'd like to send a special thank you out to Stephen Joyner for sending me this Mallee Burl and Alumalite pen blank. I absolutely love it. It's just so gorgeous. And the best part is, I got another one, so I get to make a second pen just like this. Maybe a pencil, who knows? I'd like to thank you guys for joining me in the shop tonight. I really hope you enjoyed this turn. It was a good time for me, and I know that from time to time people send me blanks and they really like to see me turn them. I try to turn as many as I can. I don't always get to them in a timely fashion, but I want you to know if you send me a blank, I put your name on the blank along with the type of material that it is, and when I do turn it, I'll throw a shout out at you. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening, everybody. Take care.